What's up? My name's Glueboy, welcome back to the channel, and you thought we were done. No, there's more to cover, because we got the 5th Chaos God. Yeah, there's another, kinda. Okay, so the title and the thumbnail is a bit of a lie. I'm sorry, but you are wrong about Malal, because Malal isn't fucking real anymore. Malal can't hurt you, they're not a thing. What we're actually talking about is the thing people mean when they say Malal in 40k. That's Malice. Malice is actually a chaos god, lesser chaos god at the very least, because I'll talk about Malal later. At the end of the video, I'll actually go into the whole Malal situation and why it's so widely spread for some reason, but in reality, it's Malice. Malice, the chaos god of destruction and hatred and like all of that. Now you might be thinking, hey, wait a sec. That sounds like Korn. That's Korn's deal. He does the destruction. Well, there's a difference, because Korn is violence and destruction towards a purpose, while that purpose is in fact just blood for the blood god, skulls for the skull throne. It's a bit different. Malice is all about mindless destruction for destruction's sake. He's the chaos god of anarchy, self-hate, self-destruction, and just general destruction. He hates fucking everything, including the chaos gods. He wants them all dead. He doesn't play in the great game. He thinks it's lame. His followers also just hate everything, including themselves, and just want to see it all dead. And particularly, one of the main beats for Malice, and just how he's worshipped, is that self-destructive cycle of just mindless destruction, including yourself. You know all those stories, all those movies and such, that are just a protagonist going down a dark road of vengeance and bloodshed. Nah, they're becoming evil. Better stop this. This is worse than the people that did the original thing to you. Imagine that character, but just at their endpoint where they ignored all the advice they got throughout the story. That's every single follower of Malice, which there actually are with the Sons of Malice Renegade chapter. These guys are genuinely kind of cool. They pop up a little bit. There's a short story where they appear in as well. They were also involved in the 13th Black Crusade with Abaddon. The Sons of Malice are a goofy ragtag bunch with a equally cool and kind of weird and lame paint scheme. I'd love to see this modernized, but they encompass that destructive, wanton bloodshed because they go out and murder things, and also to revere their god with his holy number 11. They go out, kidnap a fuck ton of people, aliens or humans, bring them back to their homeworld, and every 11 years, they host a cannibalistic ritual to summon Malice into real space. That's important. Apparently, Malice can come into real space. The other chaos gods straight up cannot do this, but he can. Weird shit. Maybe it's just a lesser chaos god thing. But there's something I should bring up, now that I mentioned the Sons of Malice. I eventually maybe will go into them at some point when I need random Space Marine things to cover. But there are 3 things I want to talk about, just get ahead of the comments. Firstly, they're real. Sons of Malice, they're fully canon in Warhammer. They keep popping up in little random stories. They are real and exist, unlike Malal. I'll get to that later. And then, as well, secondly, they are not involved with the missing legions at all. They were created for something called the Astartes Praesis, which was 20 Space Marine chapters, a founding of just those 20, to protect the Eye of Terror. The Sons of Malice turned traitor. Now, the confusing part is the Astartes Praesis, 18 of them stayed loyal, 2 kind of disappeared, and that kind of leads to that, you know, ooh, maybe missing Primarch. And then add on to the fact that we don't actually know what the home chapter of the Sons of Malice are, so whatever. And then lastly, if you see anyone talk about there's a chapter master for the Sons of Malice, that's fan fiction. People are quoting fan fiction like it's real lore, which does happen. 40k has a real game of telephone problem where someone will mention a thing on a forum and then it kind of carries and carries and carries and carries and carries until you get to a rumor that I've propagated in my videos that the Bane Blade was a light scout tank. Not true. It's not a thing. Or the talk about how Kegarak swapped Jagged's Icon and Fulgrim's pods. That's most likely the same thing. And honestly, there isn't much more about Malice. He pops up a lot. He encompasses anarchy, raw destruction, and wants to fuck up the Chaos Gods. And his followers are real fun. They adorn themselves in the armaments and trophies taken from other Chaos Champions. They fight in utter silence, because Malice really encompasses the idea of raw, efficient brutality and destruction. They fight completely silent because they're all dedicated for murder. Pretty cool. And that's roughly all the info we got. So, what is this whole thing with Malal? Why do people keep calling him that? Well, Malal was, like a long time ago, a thing. Back in 1st edition Warhammer Fantasy in the early 80s. I'm talking like the beginning of Warhammer itself. Malal was, again, the chaos god of destruction and anarchy, and specifically was part of a comic series called The Quest of Caleb Dark, a comic made by John Wagner and Alan Grant, two names that are actually pretty big in the comic sphere. John Wagner is like the dude who made Judge Dredd, and then Alan Grant did a lot of co-writing with John Wagner, a lot of co-writing, and also a lot of co-writing for some other popular comic characters, largely some Batman stuff. If you like the villains Anarchy, Victor Zsasz, or the Ventriloquist, that's this guy. And they created The Quest of Caleb Dark, which was apparently a decent comic. It looks interesting. I like the style of it. But there was a copyright dispute, which now means Malal isn't canon. And I will state, there's no hot tea here, there's no hot gossip. It was a rubbing of different spheres and work cultures, because as freelance comic artists and comic writers, they knew to copyright your works and be very protective of it. Fucking Marvel and DC are real shitty with copyright stuff. I mean, there's a lot of stuff with that, like with Jack Kirby, that poor man. And Games Workshop came from a game design, like publication style company. Something where it's kind of just granted that if you're creating something for said company, it belongs to said company. So it wasn't written out in a contract, and it got disputed, and then, all right, well, we kind of messed up here. You want to keep your copyright here. Let's just part ways. We're going to get rid of Malal, erase that from our canon, whatever. And even then, that was just 1st edition Warhammer, where they kind of threw a lot of stuff at the wall. Like, there were originally 10 Chaos Gods in Warhammer Fantasy originally. Now, obviously, there's just 4. And then, like, some other gods that show up. Good old Great Horned Rat. But yeah, Malal was essentially the first incarnation of Malice. Because Malal and Malice are not a thing in Warhammer Fantasy anymore. Fully not a thing, also not a thing in Age of Sigmar, to my knowledge. And in 40k, we have Malice, because, you know, Chaos Gods transfer from Fantasy to 40k. But also, I just have a theory that I think the reason the name carried is because Malal is significantly like a better name. I like saying Malal more than I like saying Malice. Malice is just a fucking word. A word that completely encompasses what Malice is, but Malal is like a cool demon name, and it feels good to say. But main point of the video, Malal isn't real, isn't as important as you think. Same with Malice, he pops up, he's pretty cool. I'd like to see the Sons of Malice pop up a little stronger, and I want to see a modern rendition of their paint scheme, because I think you could do a really good job. I couldn't, I hate painting white armor. It sucks. Especially white on black, like this quad color scheme. That looks like a nightmare. But anyways, nice quick little thing. Next video, I got a great subject. A video that I'm excited to do the research for, the Emperor of Mankind. But anyways, if you like this, like, comment, subscribe, do that stuff. See ya.